Friday. Friday is one of the best days. I've always been enamored with Friday. I think Friday is a happy day. Hello, Chantel 1984. How are you doing today? If you are watching from Periscope or YouTube land, shoot me a comment so I know that you're there, because as I'm watching on Restream, it doesn't show me that unless you comment. Hello, Tally. How you doing today? Lee Canton, how you doing, buddy? All right. Where is my General Jen today? Is she going to help us out? And that's right. If you do watch this in Periscope land, give it a share. Help us out. If you are watching it from YouTube land, share with your friends. Give us a comment. Smash the like button. Lee, how's things going over where you are in Britain, my friend? It seems that things have taken a chill for the week, at least. The Yabbit, how are you doing? How is Utah? I saw some crazy footage from Utah. What is it? Yovo, Utah. It was quite alarming. But though there seems to be a lot of alarming things going on today, not as much as they would like us to think that is going on. It's quite hilarious. And when I say they, I'm not no conspiratorial theorist. However, when I say they, I mean the powers that be. Let's talk about, we could say it was the media, right? Lee Kent says it's probably just as weird, but we all got used to it. Yeah, we're getting used to it. It's interesting, because I myself have even today, I was thinking that, so when I'm talking to you guys, I'm talking to fans of the show, fans who watch this every morning, people who are in the self-development, who work out, who probably are a bit driven introverts who are looking to max out their full potential. So you have processes set up in your life to be better than you were the day before, where that gives you some form of measurement. Christina, how are you doing from Venice today? Egan in Florida, how is everything? And so what I mean by that is, because you are on a daily mission to get better, because you're on a daily mission to live your best life, because you're on a daily mission to be better than you were the day before, you have something to compare yourself to. You have the proper measuring stick, which is yourself the day before. Now, you can easily find that information anywhere on the net, that the best way to get better is to compare yourself to who you were the day before, and to keep track of that and watch your progression and monitor it. Spanish Fly 79, how you doing? Tommy Leo 80, how you doing? And so with that, you have the proper yardstick to look at that progression. Have you guys ever, so in Boy Scouts, when I was a Boy Scout, there was this rule that if you wanted to get out of the forest, if you got lost in a forest, and you didn't have a compass, or even if you did have a compass, but it's difficult to navigate yourself through a forest with all the trees and no vision of the sun, certainly with a canopy. There's no visual of a horizon. So all you are looking at is the next set of trees. Tally says, look for the North Star at night. Yes, well, at night. But Tally, if there is a jungle canopy or a forest canopy above you, you're not going to be able to see that star. So here's what I'm discussing. Now, at night, you probably wouldn't want to be moving through the forest because that's going to make everything difficult, and you're going to want to set yourself up a camp for the evening. But during the day, you look for a river. And if there's no river, what are you going to do? So during the day, you have to line up a set of trees. You line them up in your vision and you follow that line of trees. This allows you not to get lost and to keep a straight line, because the quickest way to get out of that forest is going to be to walk in a straight line, especially if you don't really know what direction you're going. If you don't know which is the easiest way out, it is going to be very important for you that you continue to walk a straight line so that you don't start walking in circles and lose yourself in that forest. And so you have the perfect, you've made a path, and that path you could use as a measuring stick. You can look at it as to keep you on track. Now, life is no different. How do you find your way through life? Well, the best way to go is to try to go through life adhering to the best straight line. How are you going to be able to do that? Well, you have to line up your vision with where you have come from, where your past was, who you are now, and then your path into the future of who it is you want to be. And then you backwards engineer the proper core values that would lead you to becoming that person. So once again, we're lining up the trees. Yes, small goals, easily to obtain, but you're setting that up so that you can start to follow that path, which it helps keep you on the path. And by understanding what the path looks like, it helps you to understand when you're not on it anymore or when you get lost. Now, here's what I wanted to bring up today. You know, we understand that. We live it. We talk about self-development and our goals and our daily activities and how they line up with who it is we want to be and become and to self-actualize into our best. But how many people out there are just live life as it comes on a daily basis, and they're reactive to it? And imagine being reactive to the forest around you. Imagine being reactive to what life is throwing at you. If you don't have a path chosen for yourself, if you haven't put it together, then it's going to be easy to get blown off course. And then what do you end up doing? You start walking around in circles and you find yourself having the same problems over and over and over again. So now here we are sitting in this forest trying to find our way through life. Now, I bring all of this up because, as you guys know, I despise the media. I find it abhorrent, nasty, and just all it does is have us focus on the wrong things so that we become reactive to it rather than proactive to it. Or even better yet, ignoring it forthright, just ignoring the mainstream media. Why? Because there's nothing there for you. All they are looking to do is to get you acting reactively to you so that you lose yourself off of your path. Because here's the situation, guys. Here's why it is important. If they can knock you off of your path, then you're constantly going to be looking towards the media for how you get out of the forest. So if you put your own path together and you're walking and you're following it, you don't need the media. The media can't lead you around by the nose in a reactive position, making you do the things that it wants you to do. This is incredibly important. So let's just look at a couple ideas that the news have posted just recently. So did you guys notice that the news was posting about coronavirus parties? And if you don't read the full story or just catch a whiff of it, the insinuation is that teenagers everywhere are having coronavirus parties where they all show up and do crazy things and get drunk and wild and teenage crazy nakedness. And then they wait to see who gets coronavirus first, and they're the winner. Okay. How many of you guys believe that one? How many of you guys find that ridiculous, salacious, just stupid? Why am I going to waste my time with this? Do you know how many times I saw that stupid story in my friends' Facebook timelines? A ridiculous amount. Now, do teenagers do dumb things all of the time? Was there coronavirus parties? Guess what? When I lived in North Carolina and I was 21 years old, 22, 23, do you know what sort of parties we had on a regular basis? Every time that there was a hurricane announced that we needed to prepare for, we had a party for it. Because young people will turn anything into a reason to party, to celebrate, to get excited. That's why. So do you think teenagers are going to throw coronavirus parties to freak out their parents and to shock and awe everybody else? Well, of course. Is there any truth to it? Probably not to the intention that the media had put behind it. I'm sure it was just dumb teenagers, dumb young kids finding another reason to fire up a grill, put a keg in the yard out back, and get hammered. Why? Because that's what young people do. Do you think a story like that is enough to distract you or knock you off of your path or put you in a reactive path? Well, of course. What is the reactive path does that story add to? That story adds to the idea that young people are incredibly reckless. They're out of control. They're trying to get us all killed. And you should not trust them because they are having coronavirus parties. Are young people going to be reckless during a time of where us adults would like them to just chill out? Well, of course, that's called nature. They do it all the time. That's what young people do. Young people are having tons of energy. They're incredibly reckless and they want to enjoy themselves. So another salacious story to knock you off of the path that you have picked out for yourself to get through this, to be better, to self-actualize. What's another story that we had this week? Oh, it was dust storms from Africa. How bad was that? What? Vaughn says, yes, we do some pretty dumb stuff all the time. As I said, we found a reason to party with every insane news story that came out. You know, I even told you guys, during one of our hurricane red alerts, I, in preparation, Went to the store. I bought 2 cases of beer and 2 frozen pizzas. That was my hurricane prep. And guess what? That was for Hurricane Fran. I lived in North Carolina, Chapel Hill. That was just one of the hurricanes that actually connected, came barreling through the triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, put a tree onto my apartment that I lived in, took out the power, and I had drank a case of beer. I woke up with the front door smashed in with a tree in it, a hangover, and my power out with a case of beer left and 2 thawed out frozen pizzas. That's what I had to work through the devastation of the hurricane. Why? Because I was young. I was an idiot. That's what we do. Young people do dumb things all the time. Hello, Nicole. How are you doing? At least you had beer. Yeah, well, at least I had a case left. That's right, Vaughn. So would we have had coronavirus parties? Yeah. Would we have African dust storm parties? Why not? So there is these, it's interesting that we're having all these crazy stories during all this time. When you think about what would be their effect on a mass of people who just read the news casually and don't really put much thought into it? Utterly terrifying. Spanish Fly says, guys in our 40s should remember the parties we had back in 1999 when the end of times. Yes, Spanish Fly 79. I agree with you 100%. I was there. I certainly remember it well. And in fact, that's the funny thing about New Year's Eve parties, because there's so much pressure on them to make them the special one. You imagine what the atmosphere, for you guys who weren't there, think about what the atmosphere must have been like on New Year's Eve, 1999, Y2K. Everything is going down. There was songs written about it. Prince, Party Like 1999. So there's all this music written about it. There's all this news hysteria written about it. And imagine what the anticipation was like in 1999 leading up to that. I remember watching the news, watching Europe celebrate and the world not blowing up, and then thinking, well, I guess we're good. So, and I only bring this kind of stuff up because I want to continue to reinforce this idea of just how bad the media is for your well-being and what it means for you to find a pathway through the forest, and why lining up those trees so that you can visualize a straight line through the forest and what that means in reality in life. And what we're doing here, so that you have the tools and the skills to work through that yourself. Now, something else I wanted to discuss today. Let's see. I just saw, before I even got on, I saw CNN just now posted an article that hydroxychloroquine now works. I haven't read it. Do I need to say any more? Let's talk about the hysteria of what that had brought up and what were the news that was coming out about that. But people were drinking fish cleaner because it had the chemicals in it. It had the pharmaceuticals in it. People were dying. I mean, the most salacious insanity. So once again, I only point this out because I want you to understand how silly it is and how it has no determination on what you need to do in order to be better the next day. Because remember, if the media can knock you off of your path, then you become dependent on the media to get you out of the forest, to get you out of harm's way. So just don't give them your mind. And I hope shows like all the podcasts and information and the wily characters that I like on the internet who talk a lot about the same things that I am about how poor this stuff is. JM says, just say it. I hate the left. I hate both sides, but I'm sure you understand where I'm going with this. But most importantly, we cannot be dependent on a news cycle that doesn't have our best interest in mind. Now, Free Candy says the media is manipulative, emotional roller coaster, and I'm not willing to ride. Neither am I, and neither is none of us should be. And I hope of all the people that I enjoy, who I find counter the mainstream narrative on the internet, I hope that I can be one of those voices too that keep people on focus of what's really important, themselves, and making themselves to the best of their ability so that their immediate world becomes better, so that you can make your world better from your little corner or area of your world and internet. Why? Because that ripple effect can be greater than the news. If the news continues to lose more and more control, which it is, to me, is it kind of obvious that they are? It just seems like they're throwing the kitchen sink at us. That means that we will win, that we will prevail, that we will end up controlling what that narrative is, and we can make the world a better place. Because let's face it, the news has had everyone's attention for long enough. This is the great thing about the internet, that there's alternative media and narratives and ideas out there that gives me a hand. Now, I have so much stuff going on today, guys. I got to do some videos with AJ after this. I'm going to go through the comments. Charlie, I guess you had to work a little bit later than usual. Well, thank you for joining us today, my friend. So the other thing that I wanted to say was the CNN article. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous, JM. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was I talked about Ghislaine yesterday and her role in everything else. And remember, I said I'm not going to play conspiracy theorist, and I'm not going to connect dots that I don't have evidence and data to support, but I'm not going to be arrogant and ignorant to the fact that I don't see all the coincidences. And remember, I've gotten to a point now with everything else is I'm just not going to dismiss any coinky dinks anymore. I will write them down. I will put them on a piece of paper, and I will acknowledge that they are many, and it's too many to disavow or to dismiss. Now, my point being with Ghislaine is we now are in a situation where we understand what is going to happen. That we've had Mr. Epstein and he had suicided, right? So here's my thing. Everyone knows there is not a person in the world that does not understand how important this case is and how important it is that justice is served for the many who they have hurt, and as many of they have gotten entangled with in powerful positions. We know these things for a fact. He was already convicted once. Here's my situation. Here's the thing about it. Here's what we can't ignore, guys. That because everyone understands the level at which how important this is, that if anything happens to Ghislaine, anything happens to her, then it is on everybody's head. Everybody is involved. Everybody is guilty. Why? Because everybody understands the urgency, severity, and the importance of the situation at hand. And if anything happens, that means that everybody has failed again. So with that, that's all I'm going to state. We know. Free Candy says, I choose news digesters carefully like you. Well, please do not look at me as the news. As I had mentioned, I don't really go into politics. There's much better news sources. And I can't discuss things as freely as I would like to here. And I'm a bit kooky at that. But I will be happy to put together a few bits of news so we can have a good laugh on our morning show. Charlie says, I'll be surprised if she'll survive. Well, we all think that, Charlie, but doesn't that also say that if anything happens to her, that is on everybody, because everybody knows the importance of that everybody has failed, that both sides have let this happen. So that means that both sides are just as guilty and culpable for everything that happens at this point. I think so. So, I got to head out, guys. I got a million things to do. If you haven't checked it out this week, make sure you listen to the David Nurse episode. He is a shooting coach for a lot of pro basketball teams. He has a coaching company out here in Los Angeles. He works with the likes of Pete Carroll and I can't remember which basketball team, but he's an athletic coach. He's brilliant. He has a lot of energy, and I really enjoyed the episode. And he talks about the 7 points of confidence. So if you would like to know more about the 7 points of confidence, I would download that episode and start looking at those things on your weekend. Well, thank you very much. Happy adventure. Diana, thank you very much. Sick bunch of people. Yes, they are, Charlie. It is exactly right. I've seen it with AJ. Yes. Yeah, David is great. So check out that episode. JM, thank you over there in YouTube land for tuning in. I don't know. Remember, guys, if you're over in YouTube, hit subscribe, give me a comment, write me, give us a like. That is the only way that I know that you're watching it, because I'm re-streaming this. Yes, happy 4th to you, buddy. Happy 4th to everybody. If you enjoyed my insights and perspectives and you want to learn more how to use them for yourself, check out the Art of Charm Communication Accelerator. The link is in the link tree of the Instagram and Twitter, in the description of YouTube. It has all the best bits of our online classes, online training programs, expert guests over the last 15 years. And what is it about? It is about influence, persuasion, connection, and networking. Get it. Check it out. It's rad. Let's talk about it. Let me help you guys out. Enjoy your Independence Day. I don't even know if I'm allowed to fly an American flag, but I'm going to on my Facebook. Happy 4th of July, everybody. If you can, get together with family. If you can, reach out, do a little grilling out there, and don't listen to the mainstream narrative. Line up the trees in the forest and follow them on your way out the door. I'll see you guys Monday morning. Cheers.